On July 27, 1953, the Armistice was signed, suspending but not totally ending the Korean War. Koreans remember that the war involved not only Koreans and Americans, but also soldiers from around the world that came to their defense to protect freedom and democracy. The United Nations Command involved nearly 2 million soldiers from 22 countries, Korean War veterans that are now getting very old. As we mark the 70th anniversary of the signing of the Armistice, we have a special show dedicated to a globalist who is documenting their stories.
Hallo. Hey.
Met dit schip ging ik heen, Amerikaans troepentransportschip.
Jan van Extel begint aan zijn gevechtsrantsoen.
Gesneuveld, hè? Dat was mijn helper, hè?
Die was gesneuveld in Korea.
Ja.
Ja, zijn maatje naast hem, hoor.
This week, our guest is the Dutch YouTuber Bart of the iGoBart channel. We talk about his recent meetings with Korean War veterans and his love for streaming parts of Korea that even Koreans don't know very well. So, welcome, Bart, to the Globalists.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the show.
We're glad you're here. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. You are Dutch.
Yes, I'm from the Netherlands.
Yeah, you're from the Netherlands. But you are one of the most influential YouTubers about Korea.
Am I?
Well, that's what we've been told. So how did this happen?
Well, first of all, I hope I have some good influence on people who are watching my videos. But I have to bring it back to 2017. That's when I came to Korea.
17?
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, so it's only 6 years ago.
Only 6 years. I was a backpacker, a traveler. So I was just having fun. And I had so much fun that I was trying to stretch my time in Korea for as long as possible. And then the unexpected happened. I fell in love. I met a girl.
Aha. Okay.
On Tinder, by the way.
Yes. On Tinder?
Yeah.
In
We're
Korea?
a Tinder couple, yeah. Married
my
now,
goodness.
so a successful Tinder couple.
Yes. Good. So you came to Korea, you enjoyed yourself, and then you fell in love. You got married in
Yes.
Korea. And so has it been since 2017? But obviously at that time, you had no idea that you were going to do this YouTube and this was going to be your livelihood.
Yes, like in 2017, it was not a popular career decision, right, to become a YouTuber. When I told my father, I believe I opened my channel in 2018. When I told my father, like, hey, I become a YouTuber, he was like, Bart, you have done a master's, why don't you just find a job? You know, you can do anything but YouTube. So
Okay,
I did.
So you say you have a master's. What do you have a master's in?
Okay, here we go. Human geography and specialized in conflicts, territories, and identities.
Okay. That sort of says, I mean, it's sort of, okay, I can see you being in Korea, but exactly not really exactly what you're doing.
Well, now it does, because like the most famous conflict right now is, okay, it's probably Ukraine, Russia, but also North Korea and South Korea, right?
True.
So I've always been intrigued by the entire peninsula because of its conflict, because that's what I've studied.
Oh, so that's probably one of the reasons that brought you here in the first place.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. I didn't know much about Korea other than, okay, there's a Kim Jong-un in the north, and there's the south, and there's the DMZ. But the best way to learn about it is by going to the country.
Okay. you are now pretty established.
Yeah.
In your position.
Yeah.
And I hear the recent project that you just finished, the Korean War Veterans project, was actually commissioned by the Korean government.
Yeah, not at first. But after making many videos with Korean War veterans, especially from the Netherlands, they finally approached me and they said, "Hey Bart, do you want to be the ambassador of the 70th anniversary of the Armistice, which is this year?" And I said, like, yeah, of course, because that's what I already do, so why not? Now in the name of the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs.
Yes. So how many of these interviews and meetings have you done?
In total? Oh, maybe 20 by now.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound too much, but it's really difficult to find veterans these days because it's such a long time ago and most of the men are 90 plus years old.
Oh,
and even when they're still alive, some of them can't even talk anymore or they can't take care of themselves or they are sick. So it's really difficult to find healthy and energetic men who still want to be in front of the camera.
So you had to actually go around and visiting their homes.
Yes.
Where they live.
Yeah.
So tell us about what this project was like. I hear from one of your interviews that you did that many people even in your home country didn't know that there were that many Korean War veterans there. Obviously been eye-opening for a number of reasons, but tell us why.
It's a shame, right? Like, why the Dutch people don't know this? Because I've never learned about the Korean War in my school, in high school, middle school. I never learned about it. So did many of the other 70 million people. So I don't know why, because the contribution is quite big. We were one of the first countries who sent troops to help South Korea. I believe more than 5,000, and more than 100 didn't make it back.
Oh.
And I've been trying to change that. There's a reason why they call it the Forgotten War, but that's especially true in the Netherlands.
How did you find these meetings?
So one of my best friends in my hometown, his grandfather was a veteran. And he lived really near my parents' home. So sometimes we played in his house. And then he always talked about the Korean War and how Korea was. And I was like, you know, I don't really care. And I don't know what you're talking about, but respectfully, I was listening to the man. And then much later, when I moved to Korea, I suddenly remembered, hey, he was always talking about Korea, the Korean War. And it was too late. He already passed away, so I couldn't talk to him anymore. So I talked to his grandson instead, and we talked about what he remembered from his grandfather. And that was the first video I made about the Korean War.
Ah, I see.
Dit zijn allemaal foto's uit Korea en daar zitten wel een paar grappige foto's. Dus kijk, dit is mijn opa. Zie je, is die aan het schrijven en dit is mijn oma hier op de achtergrond.
Dus het is met zijn Nederlandse kameraad?
Ja, ik denk het wel. Want op een gegeven moment zaten er ook Zuid-Koreanen bij hem. Zie je dat?
Oh ja.
Volgens mij is dit Koreaanse...
And then his grandson, he knew another veteran, also in my hometown. And he introduced that veteran to me. That was the first veteran I met and made a video with. And I believe it's also a video with one of the most views, almost 4 million.
Wow.
By now.
Yeah. Why did you think this was important?
Why I think it's important is because these men, they came back to the Netherlands after the war and they got nothing. They received nothing from the government, the Dutch government. No gratitude, no thank you gift, nothing. And the people were calling them murderers, rapers, and they were traumatized, and PTSS wasn't a thing yet, right? So even though they kept saying hey, I don't know how to deal with this, nobody was there to help them. And in the last days of their life, while they're still alive, I tried to find them and give them, some gratitude in the name of myself and also many of the Koreans, right? And my wife. And I can see that makes them happy. They weren't expecting that because nobody has done that for 70 years in the Netherlands. And they couldn't talk about it. So finally somebody who understands where they've been, so Korea, comes and say, hey, thank you, and here's some gifts from the Korean people. Yeah, it may be for selfish reasons, it makes me feel good, but I can see it makes them feel good too.
Yeah. Well, tell us about one of these visits that you've had. I mean, the one that got the most views?
Yeah, Jan. He was in a wheelchair, he was already quite sick, and he was talking about why he went to the Korean War, because that's always the first question I ask. And one day he was walking through my hometown, and he saw the father of his best friend. And he said, hey, I believe his best friend's name was Theo. He said, hey, where's Theo? He asked the father. Father said, yeah, he went to the Korean War. He said, oh, my best friend went to the Korean War, then I go too.
Wow.
So that was the reason. And
He followed his friend
he followed his
into
friend.
war.
Yeah. So no ideological reasons or like, hey, I want to fight against communism or whatever, you know, he just followed his friend. And then a few months later, he was in Korea.
Yeah.
And another question I asked him is like, hey, did you ever try Korean food in Korea? He said, no, we only had those American rations, right? So my wife and I, we were home and we're like, maybe, we can surprise him around Christmas and cook some Korean food for him. We did, we surprised him with Korean food. And the man was like, I think for a day, the happiest man in the world.
Wow.
Then I uploaded the video on my channel, got lots of views, and 2 months later, he passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, and then again I realized like, hey, I need to hurry up, I need to meet as many men as possible. I believe today there are only 67 veterans still alive in the Netherlands.
67 out of 1,000?
Out of more than 5,000.
5,000,
Yes.
Have they been able to come and visit Korea after Korea has become advanced, or how much do they know about Korea today?
Many of them did, because Korea has a revisit program, so every year they invite veterans to come over. Some of them like it, but others don't like it because they are again confronted with their trauma. They go to the War Memorial here in Seoul and they see actual footage and photos of the war, and that triggers a trauma. I was in Busan at the honorary cemetery, the UN cemetery, and before this ceremony they shut off some artillery. And when that happened, I saw one veteran, he got into a shock. Oh. He just fell on the ground. It looked like he had some kind of heart attack because it immediately triggered a trauma. So yes, it's good for many, but for some it's not, so you have to be a bit careful. But what they all said is that they were so happy that Korea has become such a developed country. Yeah, they don't recognize it anymore. To them it feels like a new country.
Yes. Well, as you know, Korea changes every year.
So
it has been 70 years. So I'm sure it has really become, in a way, it has become a new country.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Do they feel that they made a difference? Koreans obviously try to remember the veterans, try to recognize the sacrifices they've made. Do they feel that their sacrifices were worth it?
Yes. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, and even if they haven't been back to Korea, they see it in books, they read the news. Some of them watch YouTube and they see these girl groups or boy groups dancing, and they know,
the
like,
K-pop
okay,
stars.
the K-pop stars. They know. Many of them watch my YouTube channel as well, and as we talk about it later, like I'm exploring all the neighborhoods in Korea and Seoul, and they see how it has become, and that makes them feel good. Yeah, their sacrifices were not for nothing.
Yeah. I also hear that you also got a lot of reaction from Korean viewers as well.
Mostly.
Yeah, so tell us about the reaction from the Korean viewers.
It's only thank you comments. Like, every time I upload a video, it's just thousands of messages saying thank you. And every time I upload another interview video, I'm like worried, like they probably don't know what to say anymore because they have to say thank you again. But they do it over and over again because every time it's a different veteran and all the messages are very personal to that veteran. Another time, like I surprised the veterans in the Netherlands with gifts from my subscribers. So I asked my subscribers, hey, I'm going to the Netherlands next month, I'm going to meet this and this and this veteran. If you want to give something, I will bring it to the Netherlands. And against all expectations, I had like 3-4 suitcases full of gifts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, letters and whatnot, everything.
Yeah, so the letters to the veterans.
Letters to the veterans, very personal. But also teacups, liquor, tools to clean your nose and ears, like even handmade sculptures of their faces.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, of the Korean faces.
Of the Korean War veterans' faces.
Oh, the Korean War veteran faces.
Yeah.
I see. That must have been touching. I mean.
Yes. I don't cry too often, but when I received that, I became quite emotional.
Yeah.
This is Bart, and I'm still in Seoul, South Korea, but today's the day that I will start the New Year's Eve tour to North Korea. So we just arrived at Dangdong, so this is the last stop before we go into North Korea.
On the Chinese side, you see nothing but high-rise buildings. And on the North Korean side, I could only see low-rise buildings.
When you go to North Korea, it feels like you're going back in time, like you're going back to the 60s, 70s or 80s. Of course, the systems are totally different. If you look at the personality of people, I think they seem kind of similar to me. They are really shy, but at the same time they're super polite and really friendly. And that's also what I experienced from South Korean people.
One YouTube project that did get a lot of views was your trip to North Korea in 2018.
Yes, yeah, 2018, yeah.
So tell us about that trip. What was that trip about, and why did it get so many views?
Like I said, I was like an international couple channel, and honestly, I hated it.
Why?
I really don't want to talk about my personal life and introduce my personal life to the rest of the world. And I don't think that international couples are so unique. We're just in love. We're two people who fell in love, and I don't want to sell it as a product. So
Okay.
I was like, okay, but it works for now. But then I was watching another YouTuber who went to North Korea, and he made a whole YouTube series about it. But at some point in Pyongyang, there were like North Korean children telling him, I can't say the word, but they were swearing in Korean to him, and he thought that they were having like a fun interaction. And I was like, that guy doesn't know the Korean language. He probably doesn't know much about South Korea, so I missed something about the series.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, I will go myself with my dad.
What was your path into North Korea?
Okay, so you fly to Beijing first, and then from Beijing you take a train to Dandong.
Yeah, which is sort of like right on
Border
the
city.
Chinese side of the border between North
Right,
Korea
right.
and China.
Yeah, and then from there you take a train all the way to Pyongyang. So altogether it's more than a day of traveling. And then in North Korea, where I stayed for 6 days or 7 days, we went to Kaesong, to Sariwon, and to Nampo, and then Pyongyang. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what was the most interesting part of that trip?
Every minute.
Every minute?
Yeah, every minute. But if I have to say one thing, my trip to the border on the North Korean side, so Panmunjom, you know the place where you have the blue barracks
Yes.
and where you can cross inside the barrack and walk into North Korea. So I've been on the southern side, and I also have been now on the North Korean side. And it's so weird that you have to travel almost 2 days to
All
go
day
all the
around.
way around it, through China, the train, Pyongyang, bus, and then to be there at the point, so close to your home, but you're not able to cross that line. It's like so unreal, but it's very real at the same time.
You're actually literally an hour and a half drive away from Seoul.
Yes, I know, yeah. Can almost smell my home from there.
You have a very unique point of view that you know South Korea and North Korea, but look at it both from a third person's point of view, neither from South nor North.
Yes, but from somebody who has lived or who is living in South Korea. Like before I booked the trip, I was really afraid that maybe I can't even travel to North Korea because I live in South Korea, because they see the South Korean stamps in my passport.
Yeah.
But it's not a problem at all.
So they didn't question you about being living
No.
in South Korea at all?
No, not at all. Like me and a North Korean guide, we had a conversation once. And I asked her, like, don't you ever want to travel in your life to South Korea? And she said, only to Jeju Island. And later I learned from one of my North Korean friends who lives in South Korea. She said, like, North Koreans say that because Jeju is like natural heritage in Korea, right? So
Yes.
they can talk about Jeju. And if they say that they want to go to Jeju, it means, yes, they want to see South Korea. It's like a safe answer.
I see.
Yeah.
As a non-Korean looking into North Korea, South Korea, do you think you have a perspective that is unique, different from any Korean?
No, I like to say I don't think so. I'm just a guy who likes to document things. Like I see myself as a documentary maker these days. So I try to do something that South Koreans can do themselves and bring the story back to them. Try to be as neutral as possible, because it's very easy to be like super biased when it comes to North Korea. But if you do that, you make something that everyone else is already making. So I've tried to show things the way I have seen them as a tourist, and that's all I can do.
Your recent project about neighborhoods in Seoul, which is, I guess, for many Koreans, South Koreans, we think we know, but we really don't know, do we?
Yeah. So the project is called Welcome to My Dong, and Dong is how Koreans call a neighborhood. So Hapcheong-dong, Sokyo-dong, whatever. So for a long time, I've been trying to find a niche on my channel that is sustainable. I made videos about North Korea, still make videos about veterans, Hamel, but there was always like an end or a point where I thought, what can I make next? And that gave me a lot of stress. And then I realized that in the city where I live, I always enjoy to go to the places that nobody really talks about, because those places still have a lot of stories to tell. So I saw an opportunity. It's like, hey, there are 467 neighborhoods.
467?
Yeah.
Wow.
Once a week I upload one neighborhood, so that's enough for 6-7 years. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm going to start this project. I'm going to do it.
Yes, it's a long-term project.
It's a really long-term project. And I was demotivated for a long time because people were telling me, like, Bart, nobody cares. They only care about Hongdae or Gangnam or Itaewon.
The popular places.
The popular places. And I was affected by those opinions. But from deep inside, I really believed in this project. I was like, the hell with it. I will just start and see how it goes. And it goes great.
What surprises you sometimes about when you do this Welcome to My Dong, when you really go down and speak to either the working class or the people that have lived there for generations? Is there something that sort of, wow, I've never known this?
Every single neighborhood had such things. Like the most recent one was Majangdong, where you have the largest meat market in Seoul. 60% of the meat is being processed in that market.
We're standing in front of the meat market.
Yes, yeah, be prepared. This is, it looks like a horror show inside. Yeah, this is one of those cool markets where you can buy meat and then you cook it upstairs at a restaurant.
And it's quite a small market. It's not like shockingly big. And then I was walking, I was almost done with my video, and suddenly I saw brains. Somebody was selling brains. Of a cow.
Yeah, cow,
like
yes. We're talking cow.
Yeah, we're talking cow, yeah, not human brains.
Yeah.
But they're about the same size as what the merchant told me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, brains? Like, I've never seen brains. As I started asking her questions, it's like, who is eating this? And she said, the Haenyeo on Jeju Island. You know,
the divers?
The divers, yeah.
In Jeju Island?
They eat the cow brains. That's what she said. Like, she always sends them by tekpe, by delivery service, to Jeju Island. And then they fry it. I don't know, maybe some soy sauce or whatever, and they eat it. You know, that opens up a whole new path of a story that I want to explore. Like, every neighborhood, there's always something I find. Even when I go to a neighborhood as small as 3 streets, there is always something. It's unbelievable. And then people comment before I go, they say, hey, Bart, you can come to my neighborhood, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing of interest to you. And I say, okay, we'll see. And then I go and I talk to a few people, and then boom, voila.
Yeah.
There's either controversy, a fight, or interesting history, you name it. There's always something.
Yeah. So this Welcome to My Dong project is going to take you at least for the next
6-7 years.
6-7 years. But this is obviously not going to be your only project. What are your plans?
I really hope to explore the border with China and North Korea one day. And just see the border life and see how much of Korean culture can be seen in China. Because if you look at the old Joseon map, right, you see there's like a whole province in China that used to be part of Joseon. So those are my plans for now.
Wow.
But I'm busy enough with the Dong series, honestly.
Yeah. This will keep you grounded in Seoul for a while, but
Definitely.
if you're looking at the Chinese project, that's also, I think, a massive project to undertake. And we would love to be part of your Dong story, Dong story. But until then, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for me. I'll be back next week with another globalist who's putting Korea on the map. Sun Jie out.